All right, so this is TQ4. It's going to be the final TQ, and for this one, I'm going to be covering the taboo subject of politics. So, the best way to identify my political beliefs is that I am a uh, libertarian leftist. That's the best way I can explain it, where I don't really align myself very well with either of the major two political parties and just simply call myself like an independent kind of like degrades my political philosophy because there are so many different political identities outside of being a quote unquote Democrat or Republican. And people who align very closely with those political identities might have very large issues with those parties' execution of and track record of trying to get those ideologies realized. So they themselves identify as independents, even though they have the same ideology. They just have a disagreement with the execution of the party. But still, allow me to explain. So, the Libertarian Party is fairly easy to understand that I believe that everyone has the right to be, not just to be left alone, but like everyone has that right to control their own body and by extension, their own lot in life. So everyone should have the equal opportunity to try and compete. Everyone should have the equal opportunity to live. You have every student have the choice to do whatever they wish in order to find their own satisfaction in life. Because the only thing that we know that we control is ourselves, and thus, since we know we can control ourselves and we have to coexist in some way, we have to have some level of baseline respect for another person in our society and respect the rights and freedoms and responsibilities of a person's responsibility to themselves. So, thus, in order to have a good society, we need to have a society that respects that people will not do what you want to do, and that's okay. And you shouldn't make them want to do that because doing so would infringe on their rights to express themselves, unless what they want to do express them like infringes on someone else. So, like it's okay to feel a certain way, but it's not okay to like kill someone because even though the killing someone is what you want to do, that person being killed didn't want to be killed. So therefore, you can't express like a freedom. You don't have a freedom to infringe on someone else's freedom. That's essentially the libertarian point of view. The leftist comes from the basic understanding that when all comes to fail, the government should intervene if nothing else works, if nothing will resolve itself. The government should help be there to try and make sure uh, these things happen. So, on like the social issues, the government can't just like leave society to its own devices because without any form of consequence, for the action of infringing upon another person's rights or like freedoms, there is no way to ensure that there will not be any infringement. So the government needs to be large enough to ensure that infringement does not exist. But still, I don't want it to be like some sort of authoritative state. Like, you need to say this to this person because it makes them feel good, or you need to feel this way or have this opinion because this person is offended by that. Like, that sort of ideology, I think, is oppressive, and that's not going to make anyone happy. So, but like, you need to have the baseline, like, level of enforcement in our government where, like, you need to make sure that companies are not, uh, you need to make sure that companies are not trying to dissuade or trying to what would be the phrase for that? It escapes my mind. Uh, Basically, the Better Business Bureau is a good example of like my of a good company where or a good government agency that helps make sure that businesses stay honest and that even though they don't interfere with the free market, because I believe in the free market and that allowing for free market economy is going to do better for the economy. The Business Bureau allows for some level of regulation to make sure that businesses aren't using tactics that, even though they're beneficial for themselves, are harming the consumer, which would be bad. Even though, like, people who are more classical economists might say, "Oh well, uh, eventually people will figure out that they're being lied to. Thus, that's gonna like re-reactionary in the markets." But like that sort of thing's rarely gonna happen because of our day and age and the amount of data that's on there in order to trick us. So that's really gonna happen. Another one I want to talk about slightly is with my political ideology. Believe very highly in the idea of meritocracy. Like I've talked to many people of this, but I don't believe that people who are uneducated should have legitimate power in a ruling society. So while democracy is very good for mitigating corruption, which is generally the downfall of uh, most regimes, it still has the disadvantage of, while it lasts longer, it significantly weakens the strength of the regime over time, and we're starting to feel some of the effects of like having our democracy being a type of government where a lot of people who don't know what to think or what they're saying, and they have an actual legitimate say in governing over people who actually do know what they're saying. And in my opinion, I feel that people who know what they're saying and know what they're doing should have more of a say than someone who is uneducated on the topic.